All right, here we go. The recording is on. So I want to welcome everybody. I'm so excited to see you all. This is fabulous. What a way to connect people. This is exactly what the goal was. So if we glean nothing else from this 5 weeks together, we just got to see each other. So that's like a win for me, for sure. So welcome aboard, everyone. And I'm so excited to have you here. And I want to let you know, if you're familiar with the book, if you've started reading it, some of you have probably finished the book. Some of you are at the end of chapter 1 or trying to be there. Some of you haven't even bought the book yet. But either way, it doesn't matter. On page 237, Bob Goff of this book, he says, he puts his phone number in the back of every one of his books, for real. It's his legit personal phone number. And that's pretty cool. So he said, if you want to, here's his phone number if you want to give him a call. So I want to just open today by saying that Francine Rowling texted in the group this morning that she said, hey, everyone, I emailed Bob Goff this morning because I was too scared to make a call or something. I'm paraphrasing. And then a little bit later, she said, hey, and guess what? He answered me. So I think that's just really amazing. He is an accessible guy. So way to go to be bold, Francine. And you guys can go into the Facebook group and read that from Francine. And it just warmed my heart today. I was just ready to be here with all of you today. So a few little housekeeping things I want to go over at the beginning. Welcome to everybody who's on the recording. It's going to be a great day. So we're glad you're here at any time of the day. But this event is recorded every week. We want to make sure that we respect everybody and all their beliefs and their opinions and their needs, and that we make this a safe space for people, that we're holding their information that they share in confidence. And we really just want to keep it safe and in confidence with all of you. So I just want to say that we do ask that you use the chat box if you want to ask some questions at the bottom of the row, if you're not familiar with that. But at the bottom, there's a chat box in the center. You can click on that and it'll open up and you can chat. Just make sure if you're chatting to somebody individually or to everyone, because it does make a difference. So and the right-hand side, we're under reactions on that toolbar at the bottom. You can put up an emoji if you like something, like a heart, see on my screen, or you can click on like a clapping thing if you like something. If you're like somebody who wants to interact with us, it's hard because there's a lot of people in the group. Not so many, there's 15 here today, but like 50 or 60 people could show up on a given week. So we might have a hard time with crowd control. So you can put some reactions there. And that's also important because it's where you raise your hand. So if you click on that reactions box, it says raise hand at the bottom and the hand will come up like by my picture now. And if we call on people for things and you want to answer, you can just raise your hand. So keep that handy. If you're one who likes to contribute, then that's how you would be asked to be called on. Okay. All right. So not everyone will be able to participate due to the size of the group, but we'll have to see where we want to keep to our time frame, most importantly of all. But the framework is going to be such that we have an opening, always a little bit of a welcome message and some sharing that's done for a few minutes. We're going to have a reading that we do with a couple questions for you to ponder. And then we have watching, probably a good almost a third of the time spent together will be watching a video from Bob Goff himself. So we're facilitating his teachings here, and you'll really like his videos. He's really fun. So we're going to watch that, and then we have some discussion questions after that, and then we'll close a little bit with an activity possibly that you can do or things like that. I just want to set the framework for you for that, okay? Let's see, at the end of the book, in this particular book on page 215, there are some questions that you can look at during the week for some of the various chapters. If you don't have the study guide, you don't need to go get it. It costs as much as the book does, so don't go buy that. You can look at some of these questions in the back, starting on page 215. They walk you through a few of the chapters to help you take a deeper dive on that. So that's where we are. All right. That being said, I'd like to introduce myself. I know most of you, but my name is Pam Carey. And I live outside of Chicago. I am married to my husband, Rich, for 33 years. We have 5 kids. And this is my first time leading a book club. In fact, this is my second time being in a book club. I've only been in one other book club in my life. And I just believe that you teach that which you want to learn. And I saw this book and I got excited about it. My daughter, my 4th child, Isabel, was on a Young Life trip up in British Columbia last summer. And Bob Goff happened to be flying through there on his little airplane going up and down the West Coast, as you know that he does. And he was there at the base camp, and people were like, oh, there's Bob Goff, there's Bob Goff. And she didn't get to talk to him. He didn't speak to the group or anything, but they talked about who he was. And she told me about his other two books, Love Does and Everybody Always. And in fact, she's turning 20 in a couple weeks, and she wants those books for her birthday. So I'm going to get them for her. But when I saw that this book came out, and I was looking at it, I was like, wow, I just need to jump into this book. And it's a great read. It's really easy and fun and introspective. And I just thought, wow, let's do a book club about that. And because we all have dreams, and some of us are in Shaklee and some of us are not. That doesn't matter. We all should be able to hang on to our dreams. It's been a rough year, and I just wanted to bring us together in a sense of a community, so we're all chasing our dreams still. So that's my vision for the group. And then I'll turn it over to, we have two co-hosts who are leading this with me, and Nicole Green and Suzanne Cheney. So Nicole, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm so excited to do this with you all. I live in a small town called Peatone that is just about 30 miles directly south of Chicago, and I have 3 young children. I was introduced to Bob Goff by receiving one of his books called Living Grace, Walk in Love, which is excellent. It's a daily read. If you haven't seen it or bought it, I would highly recommend it. It's a quick read to do every morning. And that's what got me into Dream Big, because I was sharing it with some friends, and we saw this book and we're like, let's do this as a book club. Like, that'd be so fun. I did a book club once when I lived in Chicago. That was probably 20 years ago. So this is new to me too, but I'm really excited to be part of this.
Excellent. Thanks, Nicole.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Suzanne Cheney. I'm the better half of Dr. Steve Cheney. Probably a lot of you have heard of him. I live in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. I was born and raised in El Segundo, California, a small beach town in the South Bay area, south of Los Angeles on the beach. So for me, the white stuff is sand and snow is a 4-letter word. So
right now it is here too.
So when it snows in North Carolina, which they're threatening, I will stay in the house till it goes away. So we've actually really enjoyed this book, my husband and I. This is the 3rd time I'm being part of a teaching team of it. We've taught it to our business organization. We thought it was really good, so we introduced it to our small prayer group at church, and we're going through it with them. And now I get to go through it with you, so I will learn some more with all of you.
Excellent. She's a couple weeks ahead of us in her other groups, so she's our guide out there at the front of the ship. Suzanne is leading us, so it's awesome. So thanks, Suzanne. I hope that you guys enjoy our different personalities and what we have to contribute today, and maybe you'll go on to duplicate this with people that you know. So do you want to go ahead, Suzanne, with the reading part?
Sure. So I hope y'all can hear me well. Jesus went up to Jerusalem for one of the Jewish festivals. Now there in Jerusalem, near the sheep gate, a pool, which in Aramaic is called Bethesda, and which is surrounded by five covenant colonnades. Here, a great number of disabled people used to lie, the blind, the lame, the paralyzed. From time to time, an angel of the Lord would come down and stir up the waters. The first one into the pool after each such disturbance would be cured of whatever disease they had. One who was there had been an invalid for 38 years, and when Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he had been in this condition for a long time, he asked him, do you want to get well? Sure, the invalid replied. I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred. While I'm trying to get in, someone else gets down ahead of me. Then Jesus said, get up, pick up your mat and walk. At once the man was cured, and he picked up his mat and walked. So why do you think Jesus asked the blind man, why do you want to get well, before healing him? So this is something you can think about. While it may seem obvious that the man is there beside the pool hoping for his sight to be recovered, when did Jesus consider it important to ask? Why did Jesus consider it important to ask him what he wanted? And then, have you ever seen someone pursuing a goal for a long time only to lose sight of what he or she really wanted? What were your circumstances? So you can, another one to think about. And Steve's going to come and line up the video for us. I think it's mostly set.
He Now he's the better half. See that? They work together. I've
So,
seen it.
I would recommend that everybody turn off all
Yeah.
internet connections except for Zoom, because streaming videos takes a lot of bandwidth. So everything else you have open is going to compete with your bandwidth and may interfere with you being able to get a good view of it.
So close all your tabs, you're saying, right, Steve?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
And for me, I have to
Get-
knock off my children off the internet.
Everyone's in timeout. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. So that's all this is.
So, I can cue it up for you each time.
Hey everybody, welcome to session 1 of Dream Big. I am so glad that you're along for this journey. We're gonna have some fun, but what we're gonna do is have you think a little bit. I write books, and some of you have read a couple of them. My books oftentimes make you smile, they'll make you cry, but this series, I wanna make you think. And so what it involves is taking the things that you've been dreaming about for the longest time and giving them flight. Hence, all the paper airplanes, right? What we want to do is to chunk up this curriculum into a couple sections so that you can gather together. And what I want you to do when you're together is to go a little bit deeper, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. It's easy to have the conversations about, like, what's your name, what do, what's your dog's name, but ask the third or fourth question. When you get to a series or something that we're talking about, ask a little bit deeper questions as you gather together as a group. Get to know each other. Get a little bit deeper than you've gone before. Jesus, he had these miracles that he did. There's actually 37 of them. I counted. And it's the 5th miracle. He's walking down the Sea of Galilee, and he sees this empty boat. So he gets in it, the first boat jacking. He goes out and he meets these guys, and they've been fishing all night. And he says this, push out a little deeper. And you know what? They thought it was a stupid idea, but they did it anyway. What I want you to do is go a little bit deeper. As we go through some of the curriculum that's in Dream Big, I want you to push out a little bit deeper, because that's where you're going to access your ambitions. They don't lie right there on the surface. They're a little bit deeper. So find those and draw them out from each other. I teach a class at Pepperdine Law School. Can you imagine me teaching a class at a top-tier law school? I'm like, everybody passes the bar. You get a car, you get a car, you get a car. But it isn't your normal class. It's a class on failure. Every week, I have one of my friends come who's screwed up in front of Earth, which is actually all of my friends. I don't want to talk about the big wins. I want to get real, and that's where some of your ambitions lie. You're only going to be able to access some of these ambitions that you've had if you get real with yourself, get real with God, and get real with each other. There's something beautiful about that. It takes some vulnerability, it takes some authenticity, but that's where the good stuff is. What we're going to try to do over all these different series, we're trying to carve a new little groove in your brain. And then here's the deal. We want to go Grand Canyon with it. You guys have heard about the place. It started out like a brook. It was just a little trickle of water. I wasn't there. I'm old, but not that old. It turned into a stream. It turned into a mighty river. It turned into the Grand Canyon. And what happened is that the water kept going, digging deeper and deeper and deeper. What I want you to do is take this little groove that you're carving in your brain. I want you to go Grand Canyon. I want you to use that thing so much. Find opportunities to repeat and repeat and repeat. Go deeper and deeper. That's what I want you to do. Go Grand Canyon. So what I want to do is stretch myself. It'd be easy if I just taught a class at Pepperdine Law School, but I teach another one. It's at San Quentin Penitentiary. I'm not kidding. I've got all of these terrific felons in my class, and we talk about the same stuff. Here's the deal. Their mistakes are a little bit more obvious. Some of these guys have life. They are never getting out. but some of them have a second shot. What I want them to do is to have clarity, and that's what I want for you too. There's a great verse in Colossians 4, and it says this. Paul says, "My hope is this, that I could present the mystery of the gospel of Christ and to do it with clarity." What I want my friends, I want you, I want myself, Sweet Maria, all the people I work with, my friends who are in San Quentin, to present their message with clarity. And the way we get clarity is authenticity, is to just get real about what's going on in your life. What I'll do with my friends at San Quentin is this. I'll have them make paper airplanes. If you've got some paper around, you got to do this. I'll have them fold it and make all the creases. And what we end up doing is we have all of these creases and intricate folds. And then I'll have these guys stand up and one at a time start throwing these things to see how far they'll go. And the crazy thing is the ones that look super elaborate don't go very far. They look awesome, but they don't go far. I want you to abandon what your faith looks like, abandon what your life looks like, and I want you to go far in your faith. I want you to go far in your life. You know, the crazy thing is this. If you want your airplane to go the farthest, check this out. This is what you do. You crumple it up. That thing will go a mile. And what God does sometimes in our lives is we'll have these setbacks. We'll have a couple things where we see all these creases. And I think what Jesus Christ sees is possibilities. He sees there's a person that is actually going to get real with their faith, real with the community of people around them. They're ready to carve this new groove and go Grand Canyon on it. That's what I wanted you to do. I fly airplanes. I've always liked them ever since I was a kid. But the one thing I don't like doing is talking to the air traffic controllers. Because I don't know if you've listened to them on the radio, but they talk so fast. They're like, I have no idea what they're saying. So I don't say anything. And then they send the F-16s up. So what somebody told me to do one time is this. They slowed it down a little bit. They said, Bob, just say these three things. Who are you? Where are you? And what do you want? Simple enough, right? What if we did this? In this section, what I want you to do is talk about who are you. I don't mean what your driver's license says. I don't care what your passport says. I don't care what your degree, where it's from and what it says. I mean, who are you? And you know who you are? You're a child of God. I know you're a screw up. Me too. I know you're insecure. Me too. But what God says is you're his child. There's a verse in the Song of Songs, the 2nd chapter. That book is full of terrific stuff, but that's not the stuff we're going to talk about. This is a 2nd chapter of Song of Songs, and it says this, my beloved is mine and I am his. If you guys could just like live into that, to just realize that you are God's, he is yours. And there's a ton of theology behind this, but when God looks at you and your mess ups, you know what he sees? He sees the Son. The second question is this, where are you? It was actually the first conversation that God had with Adam and Eve after it got really wonky in the Garden of Eden. You remember how that went. They are naked and behind a fig leaf. God wasn't confused about where he was. He wasn't talking about latitude and longitude. I think he was saying, where are we now that it got all messed up? And I think that's what he wants to know of you. I know he wants to know that of me. And where we are can be really complex. It takes a little bit of self-reflection to say, where am I? You could be on the line at DMV. That's kind of where you are, but actually you're frustrated. That's really where you're at. You could be nervous because you've got taxes that are due or a job that is sucking the life out of you. That is where you are. You could have a relationship. You could have made vows to somebody and it just is not turning out the way you thought it would. That is where you are. If we could take this time within a community of people to get real about where we're at, man, that's where all the good stuff happens. That's how you access your ambitions. Boy, I'm telling you, if you want to carve that new groove, if you want to go Grand Canyon on it, you need to be self-aware enough to ask, like, where am I? I'm a really insecure guy. Isn't that crazy? I'm like the balloon guy, paper airplanes, whatever. I've learned from a really young age that I could cover up a whole bunch of insecurity by just being very animated and all that. I'm not being fake. I'm just getting real. I've done the heavy lifting that comes to say, hey, what is going on right now? And I can be situationally aware to say, like, this is just me being insecure right now, and I can just settle down. I'm a child of God. That's who I am. I am in his presence. That's where I am. Or I'm in my shame, or I'm in the wonkiness of my situation. If you can get real about where you are, then you can answer this final question. What do you want? It was a question that Jesus asked every single blind guy he met. Isn't that crazy? Can you imagine the blind guy standing at the gates going like, I'm blind, I'm blind, I'm blind. And Jesus says, what do you want? I mean, like, duh. I don't think Jesus was confused. Again, I think he wants to know from that guy what he wants to know from you, what he wants to know from me. What do you want? And if you want a Porsche, just get it out there. I want a Porsche. You're not getting one, but get it out there anyway. We don't need a bunch of pageant kind of responses. I want world peace. If that's not what you want, God's not dazzled by these big statements. What he's dazzled by is humble, authentic hearts. Make yours one of them. And the way to get there is to just get real about what you want. And it's going to take a little bit of pinging of that. And by pinging, I mean this. What we've done is we've lived our whole lives surrounded by people who weren't trying to mess with our heads, but they were telling us what we want. It was a parent, it was an old boyfriend or girlfriend, it was a pastor, it was a friend, it was somebody, they told you what you want, and down deep you go like, I actually don't want that. Boy, I'm telling you, could you just clear the decks, spread it all out and say, what do I want? And if faith, if it isn't even a big deal for you, don't put in a Sunday school answer to say like, well, Jesus, if that's not what you want, get real with that. But I'm telling you, if you're on this road towards faith and you actually want more faith in your life, just get that out there. Jesus never had a problem with people who were confused. What bugged him was the people who were faking it. People were saying, I want this, but they really want something different. If this group that you're within right now can just get real about who you are, where you are, and what you want, you'll be way ahead on the track to figuring out your ambitions, how to get after it, and dreaming big dreams. When I grew up, my parents, when I forgot to say thank you, they would jump in and say, you're welcome. Did that happen to you? You know it did. I would jump into my dinner and I'd like dive in because I was so hungry and it's mac and cheese. And then I'd forget to say thank you to my mom. And so with a furrowed brow, she would say, you're welcome. Well, I ended up learning the importance of politeness and to say thank you when somebody says you're welcome as a word of correction. Well, I go to Uganda. This is many, many years later, and I've studied up on all of the politeness and all the etiquette around the country because it's a very British kind of colony for 50 years. And I get off the plane just knowing I'm just going to do everything right. I'm there 5 minutes, and a Ugandan says, you're welcome. I'm like, rats. I'm like, thank you, but I didn't know what I did. 10 minutes later, another Ugandan says, you're welcome. I'm like, dang it. The third time a Ugandan said, you're welcome, I slowed it down a little bit and I realized they're saying, you are welcome here. These aren't words of correction, they're words of invitation. And I think what I want us to know is that we're invited. This thing that Jesus did is he said, you are welcome. Bring your ambitions, bring your dreams, bring the real you, not the fake you. Leave that one on the bus. But to bring this, because you're welcome to just bring who you are. I'm a healer that heals people that realize that they actually need one. Well, we got to this first village, and I wanted to play with some of the Ugandan kids and kick a soccer ball around a little bit. And when we had them all exhausted, and me too, we jumped in the Jeep, and we're starting to leave. And as we're pulling away, I'm like waving to the kids, like goodbye. And there's like 10 kids running after the Jeep. And now there's like 20 kids. And so I get both hands going. There's like 30 kids running after the Jeep. And I asked the driver, like, what's the deal? And here in America, this means hi. In Uganda, it means follow me. Isn't that awesome? And I realized that's what I've been doing with Jesus. He keeps saying like, Bob, follow me. And I'm like, hi. That's what's been happening with your ambitions. You're waving at him. I think you ought to follow him. What are your ambitions? What are the things that you really want to do? Who are you? Where are you? What do you want? And figure out what you want and then follow those ambitions. You'll know the right ones. If your ambition is to knock off liquor stores, you'll be in my class at San Quentin. But if your ambition is to draw a little closer to the people around you, be a little bit more available to your family, I'm telling you, stop waving at them. I was in the Midwest, and there was an event, and they had a rock and roll band playing music, and then I was supposed to speak. I actually wish I would be first, because I'm in bed by 9. I'm like that guy. And so I spoke after them. It's like 1 in the morning before I get to this motel, and I get to the front desk, and the guy's like totally distracted. He gives me the key to my room. I go up, I throw my backpack on the bed, I turn on the lights. You guys, there's a woman in the room. She starts screaming. She's like, this is my room. I thought I was gonna get maced. And so I'm looking at the key. I'm like, this is my room. So I grabbed my bag and I ran out the door. I felt like Joseph. When I got to the front desk, I told the guy, like, buddy, you had one thing to get right. I mean, really, just one person per room. And I think what happens is that we end up having all these trespassers in our rooms. They've trespassed into our lives. They've come uninvited. And what we end up doing is seeing Jesus like as if he's standing at the door knocking, and then we can like look through the peephole or let him in and clear a couple inches of space in the closet for him. He's not interested. He wants the whole room. And figuring out your ambitions needs to involve giving the room to Jesus and to clearing out some people that you've actually accumulated along the way. I'm not saying don't devalue them. I'm just saying I think you might need to create a little distance between you and some of the people that are saying you're not allowed to pursue your ambitions. I would just gut check that. I would do what Paul said. I would check everything against Scripture. I want you to check everything you hear in these series against Scripture. See if it's true. And if it's not true, go Galatians 1 on it, run right out of the room. Literally, just flee. You can explain it to everybody else later. I want you to take the idea of this, like giving Jesus the whole room, instead of inviting him like he's a celebrity guest and putting him off in the corner. And I think that's what we end up doing. The room gets so crowded with all the things that we've accumulated in our lives. It's like we're hoarders. We can't even navigate our lives anymore. If you're gonna figure out who you are, where you are, what you want, and what you're gonna do about it, you're gonna need to clear the room and give Jesus the whole thing. As we wrap up this first section, I'm thinking about the first miracle that Jesus did. You guys know what it is, right? The wedding at Cana. And everybody knows the story. You know, they ran out of wine. They said, get the water. But what I've been doing for the last 10 years is this. I'm not just memorizing the miracle that happened. I'm trying to understand what was happening around the miracle. You know what happened when they ran out of wine? Mary went to the host and she said this: do whatever Jesus tells you to do. That's what I want you to do. As we wrap up this section, I want you to think, what are the things that Jesus has told me to do? And I don't hear audible things from Jesus. I don't get that. I just read Scripture. I say, like, what has he said to do? Matthew 25. You want a list? Here it is. Hungry people, thirsty people, sick people, strange people, naked people, and people in jail. That's it. You can go to the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, self-control. If we start doing those things, then we live into our ambitions while we're doing the things that Jesus told us to do. And so don't just read about like hungry people. Go feed somebody, get some burgers, drive around. Thirsty people, naked people are a little harder to deal with, give them some socks. Whatever it is that causes you to actually move from thinking about this stuff to doing that stuff, that's the difference between carving a new groove and going Grand Canyon. And what it's gonna take is authenticity. So if you're in a group or you're gonna get together with a group, get authentic, talk about who are you, where are you, what do you want, what are you gonna do about it?
Well, wow. That's pretty cool. And if
I
you
love Grand Canyon.
we're gonna go Grand Canyon, I love what he said about give the entire room to Jesus, like clear out the naysayers. You know, how many of us have been labeled in the past with you're going to be a lawyer someday? No, I'm not. You know, how does that go? But it's amazing, and to do whatever Jesus tells you. You go Galatians 1 on it. I got to get my Bible out and read that. I'm excited about that. So I don't want to take your time, Suzanne, but I just love his voice, and I love that he's here to help deliver his messages to us. And we're just the messengers, right? And I love listening to him on Audible. So if you don't have time to read this, I'm not a big reader, but I do find that I can listen to things on Audible. He reads this book verbatim on Audible in his voice with his laughter, and it's really enjoyable. So if not for you, for somebody else you want to share with, somebody who's commuting, it's a great Audible ad for anybody. So all right, Suzanne.
I just think too, I was going to suggest that people, even if you're reading the book, to read it along with him reading it to you.
Yeah, I follow along. That's why I say, yeah, it's verbatim through the book. And
But you can
think that
underline things that way that are important to you, that stick out to you. So yeah, I've just fallen in love with this guy. I mean, he is so funny. He's so entertaining. He just, when he says things, you just make, well, it's obvious, but he makes you laugh, and so, yeah, I really connected with him. So I hope you do it, and we will share video each time. And they're really delightful. He just knows how to take you in, and so you understand and can go deep and know what you want, why you want it. Yeah, let's see, do we have some questions? Oh, I got excited and lost my book. Okay.
Steve took it. Steve took it.
Yeah, Steve took it. So let's see.
Ellen is asking where the videos are. Elena, that's why we made this group, because Suzanne purchased the DVD. It's just another purchase. And so she was using it for her group. So we decided to just hitchhike onto her video for her DVD. So they're in a DVD that they have in there that they're paying for us.
Okay, well, I kind of lost my page, Pam, so let's just go.
Okay, we were looking for some questions. I don't know. Do you have any?
Yeah, remember that you are God's beloved child is the key to your identity. Being real about where you are in life isn't easy, that's for sure. But it's important in order for you to know what you want, and so you can know what can dream big bringing you. Stop merely waving at your dreams and ambitions, choose to follow them. A lot of people have ambitions and they let just the busyness of life get in their way, and they never fulfill their ambitions. And if you want to uncover your dreams, you need to give Jesus free reign in your life and not just a few areas here and there. And I'm learning that more and more. I had a really hard thing that happened to me last year, and it helped me grow my faith in Jesus. And I got through it. And there was one verse that said, give me your right hand. I am here for you and I will help you. And that's really cool. So, and he did. He helped me, and it all resolved perfectly. So, yes.
It's so good. So, do you guys anybody have anything, magical to share before we have Nicole? She's going to lead us into some discussion questions. We can just go to that. But I just want to make sure the group's not so big that you can't talk. So we can hang on, after. But why don't you go through what we got planned, Nicole?
Okay, so Bob Goff is amazing. I really am inspired by him. I'm not sure where you are in the book, but there is so much great information about ambitions, and it makes you really think. And so I've got a few questions here to help you identify who you are, where you are, and then what your ambitions are going to be. So this is the first question, and this made me really think and take a step back. So first question, when an acquaintance asks you who you are, how do you usually respond? Now hold on to that thought. If you take out the titles, the positions, or the status at work, like manager, sales rep, vice president, as well as your roles, spouse, partner, caretaker, sibling, friend, neighbor, mom, what all the other roles you might take, what is left? How do you think of yourself apart from your responsibilities and your relationships? Now this is deep, right? Because now all the top coat is removed. Who's in here? So think about that, write it down. And this is going to change because I did this, I don't know how many weeks ago. And every time I look at it, I add something new to it. So this is something I think that it takes a few times to look at, to really look within. Can I say it again? I will. So who you are, we're going to remove titles, positions, status at work, as manager, sales rep, teacher, whatever your position is as a job or a career. And then you're going to remove your roles, your spouse, parent, mom, dad, friend, neighbor. Remove those, and what is left? So this is removing your responsibilities and your relationships. So it really looks in and says, who are you? Look within your heart, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of us don't do that. We follow our roles, right? I'm a mom, I'm a wife. I got all these things that I'm constantly working on every day to be the best I want to do, or have the best day at my career. So you have to remove that and look within. Okay. So that's who you are. So that's who you are, identifying who you are. Okay. Now we're going to the second question, is where you are right now in your life. So what pops into your mind when you consider where you are in your life right now? Like, what first pops in? If you were somebody outside of that, if you were looking into your life, if your life was in a snow globe and there was somebody looking into your life, what would they see? How would they answer that question? Where are you in this season of life? What season are you in right now? So it's something to think about. Because this is kind of difficult too. Because a lot of times we just live the moment and we don't look at our whole picture, right? Our whole map of our life. We don't know where the end is, which I'm kind of grateful for. But what's your plan for that whole map of your life? What does it look like, right? And where are you in that whole map? Kate, I appreciate you being honest. Yeah. So that's really, something to think about, right? Okay. So now we're going to look at what you want. Now, we're pushing it a little deeper, right? We're going Grand Canyon, if Bob will, right? So we're pushing deeper here. So what do you want? Do you agree knowing who you are and where you are basically reveals what you want? So if you identify who you are and where you are, it basically tells you what you want.
I like to think of who you are is the gyroscope inside of us that directs everything we do and how we show up in the world. You don't show up as a teacher or something, your job, you show up as you. And I feel the gyroscope, like it keeps things on the way wherever they're going, is your guiding principles, who you are on the inside that makes you tick and function on the outside.
Right. Okay. So we're going to dream a little bit here, and we're going to take it a little deeper. So if you all agree, like our map of our life, right? Think about if you have a GPS, or if you're looking at the zoo and you look at a map and it says you are here and you want to go see the lions. How are you going to get there, right? So I encourage you to take a step and try to draw a map of your life. This is mine. I don't know if you can see it. Yours can look like however you want. But drawing a map of you're here. This is where I want to go. I had 3 different places I wanted to go. So I wrote here is me. And then how do I get where I want to go? What are those steps? So you draw your map out so you can see where you're going. And then you're going to say these things of where you want to go out loud, right? Kind of like going back to the blind man saying that he wants to be able to see and walk, right? And it's going back to talking about affirmations. I don't know how many people do affirmations, but you say affirmations. You say where you want to go. You say what you want to do. And then drawing it out, looking at it every day in front of you.
Is this taking into account where you've been too?
Well, we're looking forward.
Okay.
So you could do your map however you want. Of course, you can have.
That's a good point though, Belinda, because you know what things in our past, when we're thinking about, when you said, Nicole, where, who you are and how do you respond with those labels, like what in our past continues to hinder us from dreaming big into the
Exactly,
future?
yeah.
We've been poured
Yeah.
into a bit of a mold, and those hindrances, you know, how have they helped push us, propel us forward, or how have they helped hold us back? So I think it's so helpful to look back, and then we can look forward.
Sure.
We're
Yeah,
all
I think
moving
that's a good point.
A coach that I worked with said, we've all had obstacles in our past, and we've been blocked from things, and we've been labeled with things, and we've had things that we've dealt with for years and years. And she said, we're all moving into the future, but some of us are walking backwards. And, you know, she asked me exactly, because I was in the blame game of, yeah, but this happened to me and they told me this and I could never do that. And I was in that space. And she said, Pam Perry, when are you going to turn around? When are you going to turn around and receive everything that's here for you? Because it has to do with your energy too, in the way you see yourself and the way you show up and the way you receive God's hand right beside you.
Can you hear me?
Suzanne.
Awesome.
And so
Who are you?
it's very valid, Belinda. I just appreciate you bringing that up about the need to walk back. And that was part of the questions, but we were looking at the time and knowing what we had to do it. And we're trying to be respectful of that. So yeah, but it is true. It is valid.
Mm-hmm. No, I think it's really powerful. And one of the things that Bob said, he said, we think about all these things we want to do, right? But we have to think about them and do them. So that's something I wrote on the top of my map. Think and do, because I think about all kinds of things, right, that I want to do in my life, but I need to take those steps to do them. And so this map can help that with that. And looking at every morning and saying, okay, where's my focus? Because it's easy with our careers, our titles, our positions to get distracted, but staying focused on your map, on your path, and where you want to go is really important, because there's all kinds of noise around us, right? So focusing on where you are right now, who you are, and where you want to go, following those ambitions and drawing that map to guide you is really important.
I think when you do that too, then when you hear things that don't fit with you, who you are, they bounce. You don't let them in. You don't let them. I mean, I've had a lot of people when I was a kid, tell me things that kind of screwed me up as an adult, and I had to learn to record those tapes in my head to ones that supported who I really am.
Mm-hmm.
The stumbling blocks from the past, people that we've held as authority will say things to us like, you're really a slow learner, or, you're so clumsy, and those sorts of things. And then we begin to identify with those, and that's not who we are. That's just their opinion, not who we are, not God's opinion of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to.
It's the tough stuff. That's hard work. I mean, it sounds like, what's the big deal? Okay, Bob, who am I? Where am I? And what do I want? So that's it.
That's not easy questions.
Three
Jane.
easy questions.
It's going to take a little dive. And if you want to do create your map and post it within our Facebook group to share with people, feel free to do that, because this group, again, is private, as Pam talked about this morning, and we're all in this together. We're all breathing the same air. We're all listening and learning to the same information, and we're supporting each other. So think about that if you want to share and get some input from this group. That's what the group's for. So we greatly appreciate you taking those steps. And it kind of makes you accountable, right, to do this math. Because it's easy to be on this book club right now and say, learn this and identify and take a notes right now, but then we're going to put it away and go live your life. So take a little accountability and writing that information down to share it. And again, it's okay to be vulnerable because we're all vulnerable. So don't be afraid to share your heart is, I guess, my point being. So I'll hand it over to you, Pam.
Okay, how do you guys feel? Do you like this format? Is it enjoyable? Is it a good thing? Because I mean, it's 11:15. We said we were going to end there. Then I jumped into the group and changed the time to 11:30 because I was afraid we wouldn't make the time. And now I don't know. I was afraid that, you know, with 103 members, it would be 70 people on this Zoom call, and I was like, how are we going to accommodate everybody? I don't want to be like, you can only use the reactions button and you can only type in the chat box. Some people are verbal, and so I want to give you some time to share with respect of what the time is, but if we have anybody have a takeaway that they can share with us, we do have, I can give a few more minutes, certainly. And we have a closing prayer at the end. That's what we have left. But is anybody vibing with this? Are you excited? Teresa?
Yeah, I'm real excited because you know when you're in the right place at the right time, because the first scripture that was read was John 5. And that was one of the scriptures that we use for my father and my father-in-law, who went on to be with the Lord at the same time. So, and it's just so much that I have, you know, put down that I relate to. And so I thank God for the group, and I know that it's going to be successful. God bless.
Thank you, Teresa. You're always such a light in my life. You always have good words. Anybody else want to share?
I'll pop on here and say something. This was in the introduction, but it really jumped out at me, and it was the next version of who we become will pursue the ambitions all the previous versions were unable to accomplish. And I remembered a few years ago, I wanted to move from version 1.0 to version 2.0. I don't, you know, just like all of a sudden it came to me that I just wanted to be a new me. And when I read that, it was like, oh, that is just a great way of describing that. So just wanted to point that out. It's actually the intro on page Roman numeral 11.
Yeah, thanks, Elena. Yeah, that's good. When we're reading things during the week, don't be afraid to, like Suzanne said, underline them and, you know, share them with the group. If you pop on before, we're usually here 5 minutes earlier. If we have big takeaways, there are things to consider during the week. Some other things we may pop onto the Facebook just to enhance our learning during the week. You may want to reread or re-listen to the chapter that we had, but anybody have anything else they want to share? You can email Bob. We know that from Francine. You can call Bob Goff and tell him how awesome our book club is. You can do anything.
Ready, call Bob Goff and we'll just shower him with.
Hey, Francine, could you get him on our final weekend, March 3rd? Could you have him as our guest speaker? Francine? Anyone? Sure.
Try it.
You're going to be awesome in 5 weeks, Francine. Just awesomer. So that's good. But anyways, so if we're good, we can get on. The assignment for next week is every week is easier as you go along, because the first week was a lot, 87 pages. Thank you for those of you who made it through. But the next section is part 2. You can read that for next week. It's just a couple of chapters. They're real quick. And so if you could read that before next week, and that's how we'll go every week, will be each section. There's 5 parts of the book, and they're split up into our 5 meetings here. So as we go today and go forward, we want to just wrap us up with a little bit of a prayer together. Dear God, we ask your blessing on all that has been shared today. And we ask that you provide clarity this week as we go deeper inside ourselves and we consider where we have been, where we are, and where we want to go. We know that you are with us. And we ask that the Holy Spirit join us and be the compass that ultimately helps us to navigate our dream map. In Jesus' name, amen. So I'm filled with love for you all, and thanks for making time for us today. Big hugs to you. Have a special, wonderful, loving day. It's the month of love. We're here together. So
Yeah. Since I'm using a combination of the book and Audible,
Mhm.
when you said to read part 2, do you know what page that ends
I
on?
can tell you that. That part 2
113.
and what?
113. I just looked.
113. Thank you.
Yes, thank you
very
so much.
much.
We're going to read up to 113. That's right.
Thank you.
And that was great to see you guys. And we'll jump in with you again next week on February 10th, 10:30.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, you guys.
You guys
So
have
good.
Bye.
Can't wait. All right.
Go ahead and invite others. You can invite people. Just add them in. No problem. Okay. Thanks, everyone.